Amakawa Haruto, a 20-year-old university student, loses his life when the bus he's on has an accident. As his consciousness begins to fade, his only regret is not having told his childhood friend, Miharu, how he felt about her. She had disappeared after the high school entrance ceremony. Now we move to the poor neighborhoods of the Kingdom of Beltrum. In a corner of a filthy tent, a boy named Ryo moans and wakes up from a nightmare. While strolling through the village he just woke up in, Ryo encounters 3 people who question him if the young boy had seen a girl with light purple hair. Before we continue with the video, don't forget to hit that like button, share the video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel to help us keep bringing more summaries like this one. Now, let's get to the video. However, Ryo had no idea who it could be. Celia, one of those people questioning Ryo, approaches him introducing herself. After failing to get answers, Celia uses her power to analyze nearby magic sources. This ability causes Ryo's body to overflow with a large amount of magic, meaning he has potential to use magic. Celia gives Ryo a pouch with many silver coins so he can survive and leaves. Excited with the large amount of coins, Ryo decides to return home, but upon entering, he is attacked by a mysterious figure. Ryo manages to escape unharmed thanks to the silver coins that were struck in his place. The mysterious assassin tries to attack again. A woman radiating a great light appears, telling Ryo she will teach him how to use his power. Using his physical skills from his past life, Ryo easily defeats his enemy. After defeating the assassin, Ryo finds a small girl with purple hair inside a sack. Upon freeing her, she asks Ryo to take her to her father, and then she faints. While carrying the child, Ryo encounters again the group questioning about this same child. After the misunderstanding, it is revealed that the little girl is Flora, the second princess of the Kingdom of Beltrum. Ryo is taken to the castle and tortured, until Flora wakes up and tells everything that had happened. Celia heals Ryo's wounds and takes him to recover from the torture suffered previously. Celia warns Ryo that the king wishes to meet him, so he says he wants to know everything about the king before the audience. Then Celia helps him, and Ryo goes to the audience to present himself to the king and queen of Beltrum. As a reward for saving the kidnapped Princess Flora, Ryo was enrolled in the primary school branch of the Royal Academy of Beltrum. However, the students of the academy are mainly children of royalty and nobility, and they do not welcome the orphan Ryo. With so many disdainful looks directed at him, there is one person who cares about him, Celia, a 12-year-old girl who, despite her young age, is responsible for the classroom in primary school. Since Ryo can't read, Celia, the magic teacher, starts teaching him particularly after school, so he could learn more magic. After class with Celia, Ryo shows his sword skills to his combat teacher, surprising everyone with the great abilities that young boy possessed. After some effort, Ryo managed to equal Princess Christina as one of the best in the class, leaving everyone surprised and irritated that a commoner was equal to royalty. During combat class, the teacher says that a mixed tournament will be held among the kingdom's knights. For this reason, some students would be called, and one of those students was Ryo. In the tournament, Ryo's opponent was the same knight who had tortured Ryo, named Charles. With his high mastery with the sword, Ryo manages to disarm the knight and win the fight against Charles. 5 years have passed since Ryo enrolled in the Royal Academy. The graduation exam, the outdoor training is quickly approaching. Celia listens with mixed feelings as Ryo talks about his plans to go to his parents' homeland, the Yagumo region, after graduating. On the day of the outdoor training, Stuart, injured in a monster attack, pushes Princess Flora off a cliff. Ryo dives to save her without thinking, throws Flora back to safety in the air, and falls about 30 meters to the foot of the cliff. Using his magic, he easily cushions his impact, suffering no injuries to his body. The only thing on Ryo's mind is how he will explain what happened to his classmates. Ryo begins to observe Stuart, blaming him, while Flora defends Ryo, until a large creature appears and easily defeats all the students. With no choice, Ryo acts, attacking the large creature while his classmates flee the scene. Determined to leave the kingdom, Ryo wakes up from Celia and sets off on his solo adventure to become stronger and find his way in this vast world. After bidding farewell to Celia, Ryo left the Kingdom of Beltrum and arrived at the merchant city of Amande in the neighboring kingdom of Galark. Food stalls near the castle gates sell dishes called pasta and manju, leading Ryo to think that the person who developed them, Liselot, may have memories of living in Japan, just like him. After leaving the city and entering the forest, Ryo finds a young woman unconscious in his path. As he approaches and calls out to her, the girl opens her eyes and thrusts a knife towards him. After a brief battle, Ryo manages to defeat her and realizes that she has chains around her neck. Using his power, he manages to free the chains that bound Latifa to her master Stuart. Now free, she decides to follow Ryo, joining him on his journey. Ryo and Latifa entered a forest in the wilderness region. While she sleeps, they are surrounded by a group of apparent semi-humans. The girls reveal themselves as the spirit people. Ryo tries to talk to them, but Uzuma, a winged bestial person, finds Latifa and assumes that Rio kidnapped her. Uzuma launches herself at Rio without giving him a chance to explain. Her sudden attack leaves Rio unconscious. In his dreams, a beautiful girl with pinkish blonde hair appears to him, just like Miharu, the childhood friend of Amakawa Hayato. When he wakes up, Rio is greeted by the same semi-humans who attacked him. They apologize for attacking him. Rio is called to the Council of the Spirit People and is informed about some important things regarding the beings living in that place, and they apologize for the previous lack of courtesy. Ursula says that for Latifa's well-being, it was recommended that Rio and she stay some time in the village recovering. Rio, pleased with the offer, accepts because of the great hospitality of the elders. Dryas, the spirit of the world tree, appears before Rio and the elders. Dryas senses a dormant spirit inside Rio, a spirit that comes from a pact or something similar. Through his power, Dryas senses a large amount of energy within Rio's body, and that the spirit within his body has the form of a human, which limits Rio from using magic like other mages. Finally, Dryas says that the spirit in Rio's body could even be a high-class spirit, one of the 6 great spirits that disappeared after a great confrontation against the demons many years ago. It's been over a year since Rio started living in the village, and now the day of the great festival of the spirits has arrived. With the blessing of the great spirit of the Dryas tree, Rio is recognized as a sworn friend of the spirit people. That night, while everyone is having fun and celebrating, Rio tells Latifa that he intends to leave the village. Unable to accept this, Latifa flees into the forest. Meanwhile, an aerial intruder is detected, and the village warriors investigate suspicious reactions. What they discover is a large group of wyverns flying directly towards the village. The next day, after resolving this intense situation, the elder gives Rio a sword and protection made from wyvern scales, along with other resources such as food and drinks. Episode 07. Rio left the spirit people's village and set off for his parents' homeland, Yogumo. Unable to find any information about them, Rio searches and finds the leader of a small village in the kingdom of Karasuki, Yuba. When Rio tells Yuba the names of his parents, she is shocked, and she and Rio have a deep connection. Upon Yuba's recommendation, Rio decides to live in the village, thus beginning a peaceful and happy life alongside the villagers, including his cousin Ruri and a girl named Sayo. Soon, the season changes to autumn, and they hear that the tax inspector will soon arrive to determine the value of their annual contribution. Then, one day, Sayo's older brother Shin gets into a fight with men from the neighboring village. After the event in which Gon tried to attack Ruri and Sayo during the night, but Rio appears to save the girls and brutally beat Gon, Rin decides to leave on his journey the next day, and the others traveled to the royal capital of the kingdom of Karasuki with the village's annual contribution as guards. With their duties fulfilled, Rio and Sayo head to the castle town. They enjoy a meal and do some shopping when wandering warriors try to kidnap a young woman. Rio gets involved in the fight and easily defeats them, saving the girl. Her name is Komomo, and she is the younger sister of the tax inspector Hayate. Hayate's father, Guki, receives a letter from Yuba. What he reads surprises him, and he and his wife, Kayoko, visit the lodgings where Rio is staying. They reveal to Rio that they once served his mother, Ayame. Rio asks Guki to face him in a duel with wooden swords, thus initiating a great confrontation between these two great swordsmen. Although Guki was very skilled, Rin still wins. Having once again reaffirmed his determination to avenge his mother, Rio tells Yuba that he intends to return to the Strahl region. But before this journey, he spends peaceful and happy days in the village, keeping his royal heritage secret from everyone except his cousin Ruri. Spring arrives, and after learning of Rio's eventual departure, Sayo returns home and breaks down in tears. When her older brother Shin sees her like this, he can't stand still. He goes to plead with Rio to stay in the village, but Rio still maintains his decision. During his departure, Sayo appears to bid farewell, saying she will strive to become stronger and will be waiting for the day he returns. Rio returns home to the spirit people's village, being warmly welcomed by everyone. The next day, he wakes up to find a beautiful unknown girl beside him. Latifa and the others spy into the room, and chaos ensues. But it turns out the girl is Rio's linked spirit. Since she doesn't have a name, Rio gives her one. Aishia, Dryas, a spirit of the great trees, appears after detecting the presence of a powerful spirit. At his request, Rio and Aishia agree to fight to determine their combat abilities. Aishia could easily predict Rio's attacks and mimic them, proving to be incredibly strong, so the battle ends in a tie to prevent them from causing great destruction in the village. Dryas then decides to train Aishia about various things regarding spirits. In this way, they will celebrate Rio's return. The next day, Ursula gives Rio a teleportation crystal, a magical stone set to teleport to the spirit's village to facilitate his adventures. The elders also give him a magical earring that changes hair color. Rio returns to the academy and notices that Celia is not in his classroom. It's completely empty, so he decides to gather information on where Celia might be. Rio then discovers that she was in the royal palace about to marry Charles. house. Rio is shocked to learn of Celia's convenience marriage to Charles Arbor. The wedding is rapidly approaching. It's scheduled for the next day. Rio uses Aishia's powers to infiltrate the palace guest house and meet with Celia. The sight of Rio's face fills Celia with joy, but when asked if the marriage is something she truly desires, she responds by saying it's something she agreed to. From start to finish, Celia's smiling attitude never wavers. Rio cannot discern her true feelings. The next day, a magnificent parade begins, heading towards the Grand Temple where the wedding will be held. At the moment the carriage carrying Celia arrives at the Grand Temple where the wedding is taking place, a shadowy figure lunges towards her, skillfully sneaking through the crowd. The figure that easily dominates the knights acting as guards to kidnap Celia is Rio. Faced with Rio's direct emotions, asking Celia once again what her will is on the matter, she finally expresses her true feelings. Rio grabs Celia and flees. The knights begin to pursue Rio and Celia, but they manage to shake them off. Rio leaves Celia in Aishia's care while he becomes a distraction. After a long escape, Alfred, the strongest knight and considered the king's sword, appears and fights Rio. Trying to avoid a serious fight, Rio decides to flee from the battle amidst a powerful attack by Alfred. Rio, Celia, and Aishia find themselves on top of a mountain. As they talked, several pillars of light appeared around them, each with a different coloration. This light causes Aishia to remember her past, then asking Rio to help people while she takes care of Celia, thus ending the first season of Seirei Gensuki, Spirit Chronicles. That was today's content. We hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to share the video, leave your like, and stay tuned for the next video. Take care.